If narcissists can be disruptive in the workplace, why do companies keep hiring them?
The narcissists are often incredibly charming, confident, particularly in those initial encounters. They know how to sell themselves and their vision. They might even come across as highly competent in a job interview. In certain industries, particularly those that are fast-paced, disruptive, a company that's trying to shake things up and disrupt an industry might actually be drawn to a leader with a bit of a narcissistic streak.
Yeah, I get that.
And here's something that really surprised me from the lecture. Some executive testing centers actually select for a certain degree of narcissism.
Wait, really? So companies are consciously looking for people who score high on these traits?
It's a reflection of the fact that when channeled effectively, those traits can be advantageous. Think about the confidence needed to make tough decisions, or the charisma needed to inspire a workforce. But the key phrase here is channeled effectively.
So it's a tightrope walk.
It is.
Now, the lecture also highlighted how different career paths seem to attract varying levels of narcissism.
Yeah. What's fascinating is that narcissists tend to gravitate towards careers that offer opportunities for status, prominence, finance, law, even entertainment. Often see higher concentrations of individuals with these narcissistic traits.
It makes sense when you think about it. Those fields provide a platform for self-promotion, a stage where those narcissistic tendencies can really flourish.
Exactly. These are careers where individual achievement is often rewarded, celebrated, which aligns perfectly with a narcissist's desire for admiration, recognition.
But what about those fields where self-promotion is less common, like social work or veterinary medicine? The lecture mentioned that those professions tend to see lower levels of narcissism.
That's right. These are often roles where the focus is on serving others, on helping those in need. It's a very different set of motivations compared to the drive for status and personal gain that we often see with narcissists.
Speaking of self-promotion, the lecture also shared this anecdote about megachurches and the types of leaders they often attract.
Yes. The lecturer observed that the rapid growth and influence of many megachurches often depend on charismatic and persuasive leaders. And those qualities, while not inherently bad, can sometimes align with narcissistic tendencies.
So it raises the question, are these churches attracting leaders with narcissistic tendencies? Or are those leaders cultivating those tendencies to build their following? It's like a chicken or the egg thing.
That's a great question. And it's something worth pondering, I think.
Yeah.
It highlights how complex this interplay between personality, leadership, and organizational can be.
Okay. We've talked about how different career paths might attract different levels of narcissism. Now let's dive into the big one, narcissistic leaders.
The narcissistic leader. It's a topic that is both fascinating, potentially fraught with danger. As we've seen, narcissism in leadership is a double-edged sword with both potential benefits and costs.
And the lecture really emphasized this honeymoon phase often occurs when a narcissistic leader enters a new organization.
Yes, in the early stages, that confidence and charisma that we talked about can be incredibly appealing, especially in times of uncertainty or change. A narcissistic leader might project this aura of strength, decisiveness that can really rally people and create a sense of excitement.
It's like they sweep in with grand promises and bold visions, and everybody gets caught up in the momentum.
Exactly. And in those early days, it can be easy to overlook those potential red flags, those underlying narcissistic tendencies that might surface later on.
But at some point, reality sets in. The honeymoon ends, and the cracks begin to show.
Yes. And this is where things can get turbulent. The lecture introduced a fascinating model for understanding the dynamics that often play out when a narcissistic leader clashes with the realities of organizational life. It's called the energy clash model.
Now, when I first heard that term, I thought it was about personality clashes or office politics. But it's something much deeper than that, right?
You're absolutely right. The energy clash model goes beyond those superficial conflicts. It's about a fundamental mismatch between the narcissistic leader's needs and the needs of the organization itself. It outlines 3 distinct stages: perturbation, conflict, and resolution.
Okay, let's break that down. What does perturbation look like in practice?
Imagine a new leader with strong narcissistic tendencies entering an established organization and immediately shaking things up. They might implement sweeping changes, challenge existing power structures, or disrupt established routines. This is the perturbation phase.
It's like throwing a stone into a still pond And watching the ripples spread outwards.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
And as those ripples spread, they inevitably encounter resistance.
Yeah. So that initial excitement and optimism of the honeymoon phase starts to fade away
Yeah.
as people realize the leader's priorities might not align with the organization's best interest.
Exactly. And this leads to the second stage of the energy clash model, conflict. The pushback against the leader intensifies, and it can manifest in various ways, from passive resistance, subtle sabotage, to open challenges and power struggles. And how this conflict resolves is crucial. In some cases, the leader might manage to consolidate their power, perhaps by eliminating dissenters and surrounding themselves with loyalists. But in other situations, the resistance might be strong enough to force them out, leading to a reset of the organization's leadership dynamics.
The lecture gave some really interesting real-world examples to illustrate this. Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter, now X, and those recent CEO shakeups we've seen at some of these big tech companies.
Those are perfect examples of the energy clash in action. Musk's leadership style, with its, bold decisions, disregard for conventional norms, caused a massive disruption within Twitter.
To say the least, yeah. It was utter chaos for a while there.
Exactly. And while he, remains at the helm,
Right.
the long-term impact of his leadership on the platform and its users is still unfolding.
And those CEO shakeups at tech companies often follow a similar pattern, right?
Yeah.
A new leader arrives with a bold vision but clashes with the existing structures, culture,
Yeah.
and eventually is either pushed out or forced to adapt.
It's a recurring theme in today's rapidly evolving business landscape.
Yeah.
And the energy clash model gives us, I think, a valuable framework for understanding these seemingly chaotic leadership transitions as part of a larger pattern. It's a reminder that leadership is never just about wielding power, but about navigating those complex relationships. Think about the leaders you've worked with, both positive and negative.
Yeah.
Can you identify elements of narcissism,
Yeah.
dominance, or prestige in their leadership styles? How did their behavior impact you and the team as a whole? These are important questions to reflect on.